Hey there, knitters. This week we're doing block number 4 of a long-term knit along. This is Norah's Vintage Afghan. You can get a link to the pattern down below. It's a free Ravelry download. This is block number 4 of 20. So this is a long-term commitment. We're doing one block each month. This block introduces a new technique with a right twist. It's kind of a faux cable. It looks like two stitches that are twisted together actually rather than overlapping. So that's kind of interesting, and that occurs actually within a traveling section of stitches. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But before we do, I want to express my sincere gratitude and give a public shout out to 5 of our patrons. These are people that support Purl Together financially. They've pledged a certain dollar amount each month to ensure that these videos keep coming to you on YouTube every week. So a great big thank you to Betty Bird, Barbara Reike, Jessica Gill, Lindsay Douglas, and Wendy O'Sullivan. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. If you are interested to know how you can become a patron and earn some cool little perks as a thank you from me for supporting this channel, check us out at patreon.com/Purl Together. All right, let's get started. Block number 4 starts out in the same way as the others, where we have 4 rows of garter stitch. The 5th row adds a little bit of texture with the knit, purl, alternating all the way across, and then 4 more rows of garter stitch. That brings us up to the increase row after row 9, which just simply takes us from our cast on of 57, and we add 30 stitches all the way across, so we end up with 87 to begin the chart sequence. So the way we're going to do that is just by knit one and make one twice. Now I'll show you, as I have in the previous videos, I'll show you how I choose to do the make one. Normally I prefer a right leaning and left leaning lifted increase, but for this I'm following the pattern as it's written. So I knit one, and then I'm going to do the bar increase, where I just go in from front to back underneath the horizontal strand between those 2 stitches, and then I knit into the back of it to twist it and close whatever gap might occur from doing that. So we're going to knit one, make one twice, right here in the beginning of the row. All right, whoops, that slipped off my left needle, no matter. Knit one, make one twice. Then knit one, make one across 26 times. Rather than counting 26 times of going knit 2, make 1, knit 2, make 1, I'm going to just continue doing that until I have 3 stitches left, because the instructions that end this row indicate that I'll knit 1, make 1, knit 1, make 1, and end with a knit stitch. So you don't really have to count the 26 times if you don't want to. All right, I've completed the increase row, and I have double counted all of my stitches to make sure I have the 87, and I'm ready to begin the chart. You definitely always want to read through your chart notes before you begin. So this indicates very clearly that on the right side, we're going to begin at A on the right side, and you're going to knit to B. Then from there, you're going to go between B and C, and that's the part in between the red lines here that we repeat over and over, okay, until we get to the end of the square over here. Same as we've done before. And on the wrong side is the opposite. On the wrong side, you read the chart up, and you start at D, and you go across, and you repeat the section between C and B. Because when we work flat and we read our charts when we're working flat, we go across and up and over and up and over, rather than working in the round. So I'll put a link to a instructional video about reading charts down below. You can check that out if you're new to reading charts. This is a really good project to hone your skills on that. So I like to kind of just read through the abbreviations beforehand, taking note that these dots generally mean that this is going to be a cable sequence that involves purl stitches, and just familiarize yourself with this. So as usual with the previous blocks, we're going to begin row 1 on the wrong side, and I believe that's the case with block number 4 as well, but I will go back and read and double check. And it says, yep, begin on the wrong side, work rows 1 through 16 of the chart 4 times. All right, let's start with that. Okay, take note that on the wrong side, the dots are knits and the spaces are purls, which is exactly the opposite of when we work the chart on the right side. So just be mindful of wrong side, right side notations there. refer back to your key. And this first row is just going to be a series of knits and purls to set up our cable section. All right, we're about ready to begin row 2 of chart number 4. Those of you that are super observant will realize that I have traded out my needles. I love the ChaioGoo interchangeable needles and I prefer working with them, but they're a little reflective for the video purposes with this gray yarn. So I want you to be able to see exactly what I'm doing. So I decided to swap them out for my Knit Picks interchangeable set, which I also love. I just really like the smoothness of the ChaioGoo, but both are fantastic. So I'm starting out line 2 of the chart. It's just a knit and a purl. And now we come up to the yellow square with the diagonal line, which means a right twist. And the instructions indicate that we would like to knit 2 together. Okay, so knit 2 together, but leave the stitches on the left-hand needle. And then you just swing your right needle around and you knit into the first stitch again. So this creates kind of a little fake cable. Then you slip them off. So that's going to create a little twist. Okay, so we'll purl 3 and I'll show you that again. And we'll go through that a couple of more times just to make sure that you understand what you do. Okay, so the right twist, we put the needle in as if to knit 2 together, but leave them on the left-hand needle, leave them on, and just simply go in between and knit that first stitch again. That's really all there is to it. When you read that instruction, it seems a little more complicated than it really is. But that's going to create a kind of a cool little twist effect on that column as we go up. All right, now we have the dark blue cable that's worked over the course of 6 stitches. So I'll probably go ahead and grab my cable needle for that one initially, just to show you how it's going to go to start with. I really like these wooden cable needles. This is a part of a Brittany 3 pack, and I'll put the link for that down below if you're interested. There's all kinds of choices for cable needles. It's just what I'm liking at the moment. I like to try new things. All right, so this next instruction indicates that you slip 2 stitches to the cable needle and hold in the back. Okay, hold in the back. So we'll do that. Then knit 4. Whoops, being careful not to have your working yarn wrapped around your cable needle. Make sure it goes in between as it should. Knit 4. Then you're going to knit 1 and purl 1 from the cable needle. So you knit the next stitch from the cable needle and purl the last one from the cable needle. So next we're going to purl 1. And then the yellow symbol that has the big dot is a cable to the left. You can tell that the main part of the diagonal portion of that instruction leans to the left. And the instructions tell us to slip 4 to the cable needle and hold in the front. And then we'll purl 1, knit 1 for the next 2 stitches. And then you guessed it, we'll knit 4 from the cable needle. So those 4 stitches are just traveling across the other 2. All right, now purl 1, and we're going to practice that. We're going to do that right twist again. So go in as if you're going to knit 2 together, and you actually are knitting 2 together, but don't take them off the left-hand side. Instead, you go in between these 2 stitches and knit the first one again to make the right twist. Okay, purl 3. Do the right twist maneuver again. You're going to be really good at this by the time we get through this chart, I promise. So do that right twist again. And then we have reached the left red line. So that means we're going to go back to the beginning of that sequence portion and do it again. So then we're going to purl 3 again. So I hope you understand what I mean. We're repeating that section between the red lines. I believe it's a total of 3 times. So right twist. Purl 1. Okay. For this cable cross, we're going to take these 4 stitches across these 2. So if you chose not to use a cable needle here, you could take your right hand needle, work them in under all 4, being careful not to drop anything, pinch these 2 stitches down below, sneak everything off onto the right hand needle, and hurry and go back and pick up those 2 that you're pinching. Bring those 4 over to the right hand side, putting them back onto the left hand needle, and then just knit everything as instructed. So we'd knit these 4 and then knit one and purl one from the cable needle. And these are the 2 stitches that would have been on the cable needle were we to use one in that instance. Okay, purl the one in the center. And I'll show you how to do this sequence without a cable needle as well. Now these are the 4 stitches that are going to travel to the left, and we'll be pinching those in a moment, but we want to go and grab, we want to make sure that you're not getting a hold of anything you shouldn't by looking in the back. Grab a hold of these 2 stitches, number 5 and 6 stitch. Okay, get a hold of those. Pinch the other 4 with your thumb while you maneuver the left hand needle on out of there, and then go pick up all 4 of those before you drop anything, or try not to split anything. Bring those, swing them around to the left, put these 2 back on. Okay, that first one needs to be a purl, I believe. Let me double check. Yes, purl 1, slip 1, or sorry, purl 1, knit 1. Those were the ones that would have been on the cable needle where we're using them, using a cable needle, and then we'll knit these 4. So that is a little bit hairy. I mean, that's a little risky in terms of, you know, risking dropping a stitch, but that is how you would perform that maneuver if you chose not to use a cable needle. So we'll purl that 1 stitch, and then we have another right twist. All right. Purl 3 and another right twist to end that sequence between the red lines. Now, one thing a lot of people do is they choose to put stitch markers where those red lines occur on the chart. So if I was doing that, I would put a stitch marker here, and I would have had a stitch marker back here someplace. And you could certainly do that. If you're losing track of where you are, then that's really a good tip, is to put stitch markers where the red lines show the repeats. All right, I've ended row 2 as indicated with a purl and a knit. And again, as with all the other blocks so far, we have this little kind of garter stitch edge where it's going to alternate with a purl and a knit and a purl and a knit going up each side. So now if we look at row 3, it's going to be pretty much knit the knits and purl the purls with the exception of that first stitch. So be mindful of that, and be mindful too that you're going to read your wrong side rows, or pardon me, your wrong side rows, the odd numbered rows, you will read from left to right. So be mindful of that. The dots are knits and the spaces are purls on the wrong side rows. So if you're new to chart reading, you just need to be mindful and careful of what you're doing there. Okay, I'll meet you for row number 4. So right away, we'll just do our little knit and purl on the edge, and then we have our right twist. As before, knit 2 together, leave on the left needle, go in and knit the first stitch again. Okay, by now you're getting more comfortable with that, I hope. Okay, purl 3, knit 1, and then notice the instructions for the orange block. This is a cable that's worked over 5 stitches, I believe. So we hold 2 to the back on the cable needle if you're choosing to do it that way, and I will this time. Slip 2 stitches on and hold to the back. Okay, then we're going to knit 4. So that's a cable worked over 6, not 5. If I would have read ahead, I would have known that. Okay, when you lose count like I did, you can see, because I was talking, but you can see that the 2 stitches that I'm holding to the back are right there in that hole. So I've only knitted 3 and I need 1 more. All right, then we'll swing around our cable needle, purl 1 and knit 1 from the cable needle. So get that out of the way, purl 1 and knit 1 from the cable needle. Okay. And we just have our center little section there, which is knit 1, purl 3, knit the next one, and then we have kind of that other darker orange cable that's going to lean to the left. So we're going to slip the first 4 stitches off and hold those to the front, because that's the portion of the cable that's going to cross over and keep traveling on to the left. All right, then we're going to, yarn in the back, knit 1 and purl 1, and then knit the 4 off the cable needle. So knit 4 from the cable needle, because those are the 4 that are traveling across the pattern. Knit the next, purl 3, and then we have another right twist to complete the repeat between the red bars or the red lines. Right twist, knit 1, knit 2 together, leave them on, and knit the first one again. Awesome. Go back to the beginning where the red line is and do those again. and that'll be row 4. All right, row 6 begins in the same way that we have been, where we knit 1, purl 1, and do our right twist, which is really starting to look good. You're starting to be able to see the twisted stitches going up, and it's like a mini cable, except it's not really a cable because you twisted rather than crossing one over the other. Okay, now we have the light pink cable instruction. Slip 2 stitches to the back, knit the next 4, and then purl 2 from the cable needle. So that's pretty simple. We've done that before in other blocks. All right, so you can see that's making a pretty large column, that 4 that are traveling across our background here. So now swing that around and purl those 2 off. I know it's tempting to knit this second one because it was a knit stitch before, but there's a reason that they're having you, see I can't talk and do this at the same time today apparently. There is a reason they're having you alternate some of the stitches in the background. Purl the next, and then we have a right twist in the middle of our panel here, of our sequence. That's kind of interesting. Our center 3 purl stitches remain for now. Another right twist. Okay. Then a purl, and then we're going to continue with this column of 4 traveling off to the left. So slip those 4 off to your cable needle. Purl the 2 next ones. And knit the 4 from the cable needle. Okay, when I do this sequence between the red lines again, I'll show you one more time how you can choose to do this without a cable needle if you like, even though I think it's a little risky, but it is certainly manageable with a little practice. Now we'll do our last right twist before that red sidebar line on the chart is where we're at now. So purl 2. All right, if you choose not to use the cable needle, what you'll want to do here is go and grab these 4 stitches here and we want them to cross over to the front. So we're going to have to hold these 2 stitches pinched in the back just as if we had a cable needle and we were holding them in the back. So we're going to pinch that tight with your index finger. Okay, slip the left needle out and then go put the left needle back in to those 2 stitches on the back and swing those 4 over to the right, replacing them on the left needle so then you can knit them properly and knit everything in order then. So knit those 4 and then purl the next 2 that would have been on your cable needle. Okay, purl these last 2. All right, then you're going to purl 1 and do a right twist. Okay, straighten everything out a little bit. Do your right twist here. Purl 3. Now we're right in the center of the sequence between the red lines. Those purl 3 for now. This will change, but for now those are your kind of your center marker. You can kind of visualize that. These 3 are your center of that sequence. Now we have another right twist here. Purl 1. And now we're going to do our 4 stitches traveling to the left without a cable needle here. So we want to count off your 4, and then these 2 are the ones that need to move. So I'm putting in my right hand needle in underneath these 2, being careful not to catch the back of these 4. So you got to kind of look and make sure that you don't catch the loop on the back there. Pinch those 4, slip your left needle out and back around and put all those back on your left needle. And then bring those 2 to the right and put them on the left needle also, so that then you can purl them back off properly and then knit the 4. Whoops. Being careful not to drop anything. Go ahead and finish up with row 6 and 7, and then we'll see what awaits us on row 8. Row 8 is super straightforward. I'm going to leave you to do that on your own. We just begin in the same way as we have been with the knit 1, purl 1, right twist. And then as we go along, just follow along with the knits and purls, and you have a couple of right twists thrown in the middle, and then that's pretty straightforward. So I'll leave you to do that plus row 9, and we'll come back and see what awaits us on row 10. Okay, let's pause for a moment and take a look at what we have. It looks to me like what's going to happen is we're going to have some cables that are going to involve these twisted columns in the middle of the cable. So let's check that out. On your pattern, take a look, and you're going to have on row 10 here, we have this cable symbol that has 2 dots in the middle. So we slip, just to preview, we're going to slip stitches to the cable needle, hold them in the back, purl 1, do a right twist in the middle, purl 1, and then knit 2 from the cable needle. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see how that goes. All right, these 4 stitches that are traveling here on the outside are just going to remain the way they are, and they're going to travel up the edge for a little bit. So we're just going to knit those 4 plain. All right, now we come to our special kind of cable, and the pattern indicates, the instructions indicate we slip the first two stitches and hold them to the back. And then we're just going to purl 1, do our right twist like normal, purl the next, and then work the 2 stitches, knitting them from the cable needle. So that's actually not as daunting as you might have thought when you first read that. All we're doing now is taking this twisted column and shifting it over. Okay, purl 1. And then we're going to do a similar thing, traveling these 4 stitches containing the right twist, traveling those, shifting them over to the left. So we're going to take those 4 off and hold them to the front, knit 2, knit the next 2, get that cable needle kind of out of the way so you can see what's going on here. All right, then we're going to purl 1, and we're going to do the same thing that we normally would from the cable needle. So purl 1, do the right twist. Okay, this is one reason why you don't want to have a cable needle that's significantly bigger than your working needles, because that right twist might be a little dicey, might be a little hard to do if your cable needle was too big. And then purl the last one off of there. Okay, now we're going to knit the next 4, purl 2, and do a right twist to end the sequence between the red lines. All right, that's row 10. That's not as difficult as it first appeared. All right, we're at the beginning of row 12, and the first 6 or 8 stitches is just like the same as we've been doing. And now we're going to have our special cable with the right twist in the middle of it again. For row 12, it's just that it's been shifted over a couple of stitches. So no worries, we're just going to do the same thing here, where we slip the 2 stitches to hold it in the back, purl 1, do your right twist, purl the next one, and then knit the 2 from the cable needle. Then we'll just have those center 5 stitches and carry on the same as we have before. This time we're going to slip 4 to the cable needle, hold in front, knit the next 2, then purl 1, right twist, purl 1. Now if you'll notice, what that's doing is it is kind of creating a little garter stitch kind of thing where we're alternating purl, knit, purl, because if you'll notice on row 11, we did, that became a knit. It was a purl on the wrong side. So that creates an interesting texture. Then we're going to do the right twist, purl the next stitch. And I'm intentionally drawing a little bit more up in the loops just to mitigate any, any extra tightness from the cable there. Knit 2, purl 2, do the right twist, and we're back to the red line. Okay, carry on with 12 and 13, and we'll see what's next. Okay, row 14 is just a slight variation on what we've already done. So we start out with the knit purl and the right twist and a couple of purls, and then we have the dark green cable that just has a bunch of other purl stitches involved in it as well. But again, it's really pretty straightforward. We just slip the first 2 stitches to the cable needle and hold them in the back. Then purl 1, do your right twist, purl the last one. Then I believe we're going to purl the 2 from the cable needle rather than knitting them off as we did in row 12. Yep, we're going to purl those I'm going to purl those off the cable needle instead. So it's just a slight variation on what we've already done. Okay, then we're going to knit through the middle, knit 4, purl 1, knit 4, and we'll do the right twist cable to the left then. So then this purple one indicates you're going to slip these 4 stitches to the cable needle and hold them to the front. Purl the next 2 stitches. Leave the yarn in the front. And then you guessed it, we're going to purl 1, do the right twist, and purl the last. Okay, so just variations on the same thing, not too difficult, but it is important to note the differences. Purl 2 and right twist to complete that repeat. Well, that's starting to look pretty cool then, isn't it? I like how that's emerging from behind, kind of tucked behind there. All right, we're just going to continue the same thing for finish up row 14, do 15, being mindful of the knits and the purls and how those interact. And then 16, let's check. Row 16 is simply knits, purls, and right twists. We've learned this new right twist stitch, and so it looks really cool, but let's say you made a mistake somewhere back here and you have to tink one back. So I want to talk for a moment about how to take it out. And if you recall, we knitted this last stitch actually twice. So you would go in underneath, let me make sure you can see, you'd go in underneath right there, just like you normally would if you were tinking. So you go in under right there, and then you go in under this back one as well. Like, don't forget this loop on the back side. So then you can see it looks just like it did when you knitted it. So we'll take out that first one because that's when we knitted the front stitch the second time. And then you take that out and you'd be back to where you began. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. If you need to tink one back, I'll show you one more time. Okay, so there we go. There's our right twist. So you can tell that you need to go in under this stitch here in the front, but then go in under this one here in the back also. And put those back on the left-hand needle, taking off the first loop and then taking off the second. Okay, I hope that helps. All right, I've knitted through the chart 4.5 times, actually 4 complete repeats, and then the first 7 rows again as per the instructions. And so now I'm ready to do the decrease row. So the decrease row, we're just going to knit 2 together twice, knit 1, knit 2 together 27 times, and knit 2 together at the end. So you can follow along with that. That's easy enough to do. And then the pattern says repeat rows 1 through 9 as we did in the beginning. All right, so I'm just going to knit 2 together twice, knit 1, knit 2 together 27 times, or until I get to only 2 stitches left, and then I'll knit 2 together and be done. And then I'll just double count that I have 57 stitches left. All right, I've completed those last 9 rows, the 4 rows of garter, just knitting every row, and then the alternating row number 5 as before, and then the last rows of garter stitch and the bind off knitwise. I really like the column of 4 stitches that travels to the right and to the left. And then I thought that was an interesting design element where we had the twisted stitches that traveled as well. So I think that makes for a neat texture. Okay, so let's block it and see how it looks. I hope you enjoyed block number 4. I really did. I thought it was an interesting technique, the right twist inside the cables. I really enjoyed doing that. And just think, we've got 4 done, so we're 20% done with our overall Afghan. That's kind of exciting to see that whole top row getting completed. Okay, so join me the first Tuesday of each month for the new block of the month, and we'll be doing some other upcoming knit-alongs interspersed, and some other technique videos interspersed with the block of the month. So join us over on the Facebook group and the Ravelry group, as well as check us out on patreon.com. Thanks for watching.